thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
It's Review It Man, reviewing what he can. Movies are his jam, so let's get twisted, man. It's Review It Rob. Hey yo, welcome to a brand new episode of the Review It Rob Show. I am, of course, your host, Review It Rob, coming to you with a new, fresh review this week, spoiler-free as always. The film we're going to be talking about is Totally Killer, the new jam from Blumhouse that is over there on Amazon Prime. I'll give you my spoiler-free takes on that as well, giving you the mandatory horror news and mandatory DC news that comes with this show. As well, we've got some other things floating around the movie realm to talk about, so we got some fun jams going on over there. I've said jams a couple times already. Maybe that has something to do with the movie. But other than that, man, just doing the 31 days of Halloween horror thing that goes on during this month, having some fun with that. I'll talk about those movies a little bit more after Totally Killer. But, we did Spooktacular last week over on the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Please make sure you're following us on all of our socials, mostly Instagram and YouTube, where you can get all kinds of up-to-date information and follow along with stuff like that. And our Patreon, man. We just did a watch-along with Freddy vs. Jason over the weekend. Had a fantastic fun time doing that, man. So don't miss out on the good times and vibes we got going on over here on the Thrill Me Podcast Network. But without further ado, let's jump in to Totally Killer. The film is rated R for sexual material, language, bloody violence, and teen drug and alcohol use. The film is considered a horror comedy, running in at 1 hour, 43 minutes. And again, it is streaming on Amazon Prime. Again, I don't do spoilers and all that stuff. The trailer's out there. If you've seen the trailer, you've got an idea of what's going on with this movie. You may have read the synopsis and all that stuff. Just real quick, film features a new slasher by the name of the Sweet 16 Killer. The film takes place 35 years after the shocking murder of 3 teens. Our star of this film is Jamie, played by Karen, I suck with names, Shipka, which I believe she was in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, if I remember correctly. The new Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Let's see, double checking. Yes, Sabrina the Teenage Witch on Netflix. So she was in that. She's the star of the deal here as well. We've got Julie Bowen in this one. Pretty good cast overall, including Olivia Holt, who I'm a huge fan of already, and we'll talk about her later in this movie as well. But so 35 years after shocking murder, we're now back. Sweet 16 Killer is back to do some slashing, and then film takes an interesting turn as we do some time travel in this movie. Again, that's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer and it's part of the sell of the film. We're going back in time in this movie. We're going back in time to the year of the original killings, and we're going to have to deal with new things here, man. So, of course, I will go around myself to not spoil something with this movie. So, yes, like I mentioned, this is a new Blumhouse film. A couple of my friends have talked about the movie and had some conversations about the film, saying how much they have enjoyed it. So I was like, cool, man, I'm into it. I'll check it out. Again, Olivia Holt fan, so I was going to see this eventually at some point, and luckily I was able to see it this weekend to talk about it here. Now, Blumhouse is seemingly everywhere when it comes to horror. They are doing a lot of stuff, and sometimes hit and miss with Blumhouse, but it seems like they've gotten very hit lately, depending on how you feel about the Halloween films and or the Exorcist movie that just came out. I gave my review on the Exorcist, and we're going to talk Exorcist a little bit later as well on this episode, because we got some news circling around there. But, I feel like Blumhouse has been doing pretty dang good lately, and they have Five Nights at Freddy's coming out later this year. But it's the first time I've seen an Amazon Prime original for them, because they've done that before. They've done like the House of Blumhouse or something like that on Amazon Prime. And I did watch another one of their movies, but again, we'll talk about that after Totally Killer. So with this movie, I was interested in the idea. I never actually saw a trailer for the movie at all. I'm a pretty easy guy, like I said, Blumhouse has a name where I'm like, okay, I'll check out what they're doing. I'm a fan of one of the actresses, so I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to see this at some point anytime. And it's a slasher film. And slasher films, I don't need a whole lot of information about. I don't need you to go overboard with it. Like, oh, it's a slasher film. I'm gonna check it out at some point in time, right? And you add in the idea of time travel. I'm like, that's cool. And of course, Back to the Future is one of my all-time favorite films. So it's like, cool. I love me some time travel. Now I know what you're thinking. Time travel has been in a lot of films lately, and maybe it's being overused or not. I mean, we had Endgame recently. It's probably the biggest time travel movie, but we've had several time travel dealios going on. And I'll be honest with you, I think it works really well in this movie. I like the idea of traveling back in time to the original killings of this new Sweet 16 killer that we're meeting in this film. So I like that idea, I like that concept. I thought it was pretty good. Mentioned earlier, is a horror comedy film, and it is very much. I had plenty of laughs watching the movie. Not those things where, like, when you watch horror films, where you laugh at just the over the top ridiculousness of it, and laugh at moments that you're not supposed to laugh at, kind of deal. Not like that. Like, the actual comedy aspects were hitting in this movie, but that doesn't take away from the horror aspects. There is some bloody violence in it. There is some scary, creepy stuff going on in the movie, and overall, I think it is a fun film. It goes by pretty quick. 1 hour, 43 minutes. Not overly that long of a film, especially I mean, we have a movie coming out this week that is 3 hours and 30 minutes long in theaters, and I might see that, which means the movie's going to be 4 hours in theaters because 30 minutes of. Anyways, we're not here to talk about that right now. We might talk about that later on, like a video on YouTube or something like that. But right now, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Totally Killer. But I liked this movie. I did enjoy it. I thought it was quick to the thing. There's no moments really when I was watching the movie where I felt bored or not interested or not entertained by what I was seeing. The aspects of trying to get from one area to the other area works fine, and it paces itself well, and the pace works out perfectly fine to me. The story easy to understand. It's easy to follow along with. Again, mentioned multiple people in the cast. We also got Julie Bowen in the movie. We've got several people in this cast that you're gonna probably recognize, but you're like, what do I recognize them from? But you do have those people, and again, the cast is solid throughout the film. But yeah, I like that idea. I like the idea of taking someone who is growing up in this day and age, 2023, and going back in time to the 80s, which was a completely different monster of a time, right? That decade was different. It was cool to see how they played off of that in the movie and how that would all work, because obviously people have different ideas of life now than they had in the 80s. The 80s were more freeing and a little more mean, but a little more happy. Do things in the 80s you cannot do now, obviously. But it's cool that they did that, and I'm glad they did that, and they had those aspects, because that is what's going to happen if somebody from this day and age travels back to a time like the 80s. Like, they're gonna be so freaking lost. Like, they're gonna be so out of the loop of, not necessarily, and I'm not talking like trends and clothing and all that stuff. We've seen that plenty of times. We've seen it with Stranger Things and all that stuff. The 80s are just rad and awesome. We love the 80s, but no, I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about, the way people acted is different now than it was then. And we're not going to go into, toughness talk or anything like that. That's not important. It's just, aspects are completely different with the way people act between those two time frames. But it's something I enjoyed. I thought it was good. It added to some comedy aspects. Added some critical thinking aspects. So I liked that part. As far as the Sweet 16 killer and the look, it took me a while because I'm trying to remember, because that mask that he's the killer, he or she is wearing in the film is just it reminds me of something, and I can't ever quite pinpoint it. But I think the look is fine. It works perfectly fine, especially for a killer from the 80s. That would absolutely be a mask that I'm sure you would find in like a Halloween store or something in that time frame that a person would put on, and all that stuff. So I think it's good. I think the kills in the movie are good. I think the scares in the movie are good. I think the story is good. The acting is good. I didn't really run into any total issues with this movie. I enjoyed every single aspect of it. Like, again, not a moment of that movie was met with this is stupid or this is ridiculous or what are we doing here and all that stuff is too funny or anything like that. No, I think they perfectly mixed the horror comedy aspect in this movie to make it work very well. Now, my friends Some Thrill Me Podcast Network members have said that this movie was better than Exorcist Believer. One of them has not seen Exorcist Believer yet, but that's fine. Different feelings for different folks. I personally enjoyed The Exorcist probably more if I had to engage it, but that doesn't take anything away from this movie. I still enjoyed this movie as well. Don't even know why I brought that up. Just continue aspects to talk about, but that goes back to that's why I brought it up. It goes back to the whole Blumhouse thing where I think that they're just hitting a really good stride this year. And we'll see how Five Nights at Freddy's goes. That movie has potential to be good. I mean, it's not that tough to do, right? Spooky Chuck E. Cheese, and you have the video game as that's something I've seen that people can continue to bring up. It's like, oh, this movie's a copy of Willy's Wonderland or Wally's Wonderland, or whatever the hell that movie is called. I still haven't seen it. Five Nights at Freddy's was around before that, so if anything was a copy of anything, it's that movie. Be a copy of Five Nights at Freddy's. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how that works out. But I think Blumhouse is doing solid work over here, and Totally Killer is just another aspect. I mean, think about trying to compare movies is always an interesting thing, but the time travel makes sense in the movie. We're not going to worry about that, and they hit on bits of it. And again, they bring up Back to the Future multiple times. Love that, obviously, because I love that movie. But there's always that question of what happens when you go back in time, and if something changes in that time frame, what happens to the future and all that stuff. It's easy. It's not like Endgame or those Avengers movies where it got hard to kind of follow along with what's going on. It's easy. You're not going to have a headache trying to keep up with everything. And I found myself scrolling through movies, and where I was like, if I didn't have to pick a new movie to watch during the 31 days of Halloween, as in not repeat a movie that I've already watched so far this year, I would have watched Totally Killer again over the weekend because it was that enjoyable of a movie. I am sitting here like I do want to watch this again. Comparison films with Blumhouse and stuff, they did what, Happy Death Day. You can get kind of that vibe with it, horror comedy wise. You can get that vibe with it, but I think better. I'm not the hugest fan of Happy Death Day. That's just me, but I need a rewatch. I didn't dislike the second one all that much, so maybe I would like the first one, but I don't know. There's something about that first movie I did not enjoy. But overall, horror comedy works well. Everything works well in the movie, so check it out, man. If you got Amazon Prime, check the movie out. It is worth your time. It is enjoyable. It is a fun movie. It's very well put together, and I love Olivia Holt. She's a talent, so make sure you watch it for her because she's fantastic. Rotten Tomatoes has a critic score of 87%. Audience is less, which is surprising, at 78%. IMDb is at 6.6 out of 10. I'm surprised that the audience score is lower than the critic score. I would not expect critics to overly enjoy this movie, but yep, critics 87% for critics, 78% audience score. So think of that as you will. As you know, I don't care about Rotten Tomatoes. Just tell you those things so you know that many people think many different thoughts. But jumping from there, I did watch some other movies this weekend. Quick thoughts on them. I watched another Blumhouse movie called There's Something Wrong with the Children. Didn't, expect much going into that movie. Just looking for something to watch. Enjoyed it. Thought that it was very well done. Another movie that, kept me interested from the beginning. More of a mystery film than a comedy. But, creepy kid aspect worked out in that movie, and I was entertained by it throughout. Again, it kept me interested from start to finish, so that was good. What else did I watch? I watched Renfield again. Still enjoy that movie. I watched Once Bitten, Jim Carrey horror film from the 80s, vampire movie. Cheesy as all get out, but enjoyable nonetheless. And then I watched Clue. Most recently, the most recent movie I watched is Clue. Still good. I enjoyed that movie. Fun film. Great cast. Worth checking out for sure. Tim Curry's killing it, but Tim Curry always kills it. So that's the up to date 31 days of Halloween stuff I got going on, man. Let's go from there. Normally I like to switch it up and go straight to DC talk, but there's a lot of horror talk to get into real quick, so let's go there. Starting off with the biggest news, of course, has happened in the horror realm since we last talked, and we've talked about the discussions that were going on here, and now it is officially official with who owns the television rights for Halloween, with Miramax being the winner. Earlier in the day that this news was announced, people said A24 has won the rights. I didn't believe it, of course, because it wasn't from an official source by any means. And I'm glad I didn't fall for it because A24 obviously did not get the rights. It's going to Miramax, who co-owns the film rights with Malik Akkad's, what was that, Trancas Film Production Company. So Miramax now has the rights for both, and they're going to do what they're going to do over there. The new Halloween series is envisioned to potentially launch a cinematic universe spanning film and television. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how that'll go. Again, mentioned earlier the watch along we did with Freddy vs. Jason. Zach and Mr. Wonderful from Hunter's podcast, we talked about this and gave thoughts and everything. And not everything needs a cinematic universe, and you got to make sure you're doing this correctly because some of us are not going to want to see certain things. The idea I brought up was doing what John Carpenter wanted it to be to begin with, and just each season being a different story, not being all Michael Myers, which I know is hard to say, especially with the Halloween franchise and what we've learned and grown to know from it. But I mean, if you're doing a cinematic universe, it's probably the easiest way to go. I don't know what you would do there, but again, I'm not writing it, so let's see what happens. There was that fun aspect of trying to figure out what A24 would do with the Halloween franchise and their style of films, but we're gonna have to wait on that. Or it's a television show. It's just television. As far as films go, we don't know anything that's going on there, other than this possibility of a cinematic universe happening. I mean, if the show is not going to be like what John Carpenter and Deborah Hill came up with to begin with, where it's different stories just titled Halloween, kind of like American Horror Story style or whatever. And if it's not Season of the Witch, which has been brought up a couple times, which probably easy to do as a TV show as well. I don't know what you do TV show wise with Michael Myers. I mean, stalking the kids, of course, and again, the Chucky show works weekly, and we'll see how the Friday the 13th show goes. But it's the new thing with horror icons, man. They're, Chucky was successful as a television show, and they're like, we're gonna do what we can with these other ones. And again, we'll see how Friday the 13th goes. That will be the next one. I hopefully, that franchise has been, snake bit for a while, but seems to be everything's moving forward there. And then Halloween would be after that. I don't know what other shows they're doing. I mean, Friday 13th and Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. Hopefully something gets going there eventually. The 40th anniversary is next year, so I would assume they would have something to do. But that's where we're at right now. But Miramax has the TV and film rights to Halloween. Let me know what you think in the comments about that and what a cinematic universe would look like for Michael Myers. Are you telling me Rob Zombie's Michael Myers is going to transfer over and beat up other Michael Myerses? I don't know. That's timelines. So that's different, right? That's a timeline thing as far as, but then again, cinematic universe, who knows what they're doing? So who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Exorcist. I did bring this up earlier that we had some stuff going on with Exorcist Believer news, and mostly with the sequel, Exorcist Deceiver, the next film in the new trilogy of the Exorcist films, could end up not being directed by David Gordon Green, which is interesting because you would expect him to do it just like he did with the Halloween films, but he put some doubt out there himself. This isn't something that somebody just came up with. He's casted that cloud of doubt of if he's going to do the next film or not, saying, quote, "My intention is just to start making things, and as those plans come together, if I find myself in that director's chair, I'd be thrilled, but right now I'm navigating it from a story perspective and looking at my realities of life as I pivot," end quote. Which I believe he's already has a lot of the writing done with it. If they want to go with a different director, fine. I don't think he did a bad job at all with The Exorcist Believer. I, enjoyed it. Again, the Halloween films are up for discussion however you want. John Carpenter just came out and said his favorite is Halloween Kills from that trilogy, so he has a thing or two to know about the Halloween franchise, but also he doesn't like Rob Zombie's Halloween, so we differ there in opinions, but You know, if they do a different director, cool, fine. But I don't think they need to. It all depends on how busy he is and what he has going on there. And I guess again, if Blumhouse and who else is doing the Exorcist movies want somebody else to direct it, then that of course changes perspective as well. But the Exorcist Deceiver will be hitting theaters April 18th, 2025. Exorcist Believer is, of course, still in theaters right now and will be available apparently on digital October 24th, 2023, just in time for Halloween for you to check out that movie at home. So there you go. If you want to hear my thoughts on that movie, I did review it last week. Right? Was it last week? I think so. Yeah. Timelines over here are interesting. While we're discussing release dates for films and all that stuff. The Last Voyage of the Demeter will be available for purchase on digital, Blu-ray, and DVD October 17th. Its home video release will feature 30 minutes of bonus content, including deleted scenes and an alternate opening. Again, if you want to hear my thoughts on that movie, because I did see that in theaters when I saw it with my brother Tombstone Josh, that is on this thing as well for you to check out. Let's see, a new VHS film. I'm talking about movies called VHS, not necessarily VHS tapes, from back in the day that, us old people used to, use, right? The film series is called VHS. They have a new film that will be released next year. That was announced over the weekend at New York Comic Con, New York City Comic Con. Let's see, and a teaser trailer for Lisa Frankenstein. You may remember me talking about the show a long time, or this movie a long time ago on this episode. Not this episode, the show. Jesus. A teaser trailer for that film has released. Again, it's called Lisa Frankenstein. It is a film from Diablo Cody, and it's directed by Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda Williams. It's her first film. It also, we know that it stars Kathryn Newton, who you should know from Freaky. She was also in the Ant-Man movie, but Freaky's more important. And then, of course, Cole Sprouse, who was, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, or you may know him from Big Daddy, or you may know him from Riverdale. Those two are the stars of the movie. The film officially has a release date for theaters on February 9th, 2024. The film is set in 1989 and follows an unpopular high schooler who accidentally reanimates a handsome Victorian corpse during a lightning storm and starts to rebuild him into the man of her dreams using the broken tanning bed in her garage. All right, this is okay. It's going to be a horror comedy film. So cool. Again, I like Kathryn Newton. I think she's talented, right? Cole Sprouse. I mean, I feel like I've seen that freaking kid and everything. Right, Big Daddy was on Friends, right, with his twin brother. Of course, Sweet Life of Zack Cody. I watched that a lot, and then I've watched like 2 episodes of Riverdale. Yeah, if you've been with the show from the beginning, you know me and Riverdale. What a time that was. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I need to check out the teaser trailer. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm glad that's out there, and we've got some more news on that, and hope it's a good movie for Zelda Williams' first film out the gate. All right, over in DC news, there's rumors circulating that Warner Brothers wants Channing Tatum to play Hal Jordan in the Lanterns show. The Green Lantern-based show will be called Lanterns. It is a series that'll be on Max, of course. The project will supposedly be around Hal Jordan recruiting and training a young John Stewart. It's good to know there's something going on Green Lantern-wise. That film left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, including DC apparently, or Warner Brothers for that matter, because we haven't seen anything Green Lantern in quite some time. There was teasing of it and Zack Snyder's DCU stuff that happened, but never really officially, got a Green Lantern. I don't remember. I think maybe we got one. We got some in Zack Snyder's Justice League, but that's interesting. I mean, I'm not the biggest Channing Tatum fan. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I hate the guy, but I never understood how big of a star he became. But I don't even know the last movie I saw him in. Lord. I think the last movie he did was Magic Mike, right? That third one or whatever, which I don't remember that did too well. But I mean, if that's the route they want to go, more power to them, But we'll have to wait and see what happens because the actors are still on strike. So the writer's strike is over, the actor strike is still going on. So casting, obviously, we're not going to know for quite some time until that gets all situated out. As far as other things with Channing Tatum, real quick, comic book wise, and this isn't DC, but this is across the pond, if you will. He is also rumored to be starring as Gambit in the Deadpool 3 film for a cameo. So I remember he was cast a long time ago to play Gambit. Never happened, right? Yeah, it never happened. That film never came out, but I was trying to remember if he played a character in like a X-Men movie or not, which again I don't think ever happened. So the rumors are back up and rolling with Channing Tatum's Gambit showing up in Deadpool 3, which maybe not. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But let me know. Do you want him to see me? Do you want to see him as Hal Jordan? I'm struggling recording this episode apparently. All right, let's see. Jason Momoa won't be returning as Aquaman and is instead in talks to play Lobo and Superman Legacy as a cameo or a standalone film. That is linked to a story that came out because we've talked about this on the show before, and this news has kind of been out there before, or this rumor has been out there before that Jason Momoa will be playing Lobo going forward. So an article came out saying none of the Batman vs Superman cast or the Justice League cast, so that means Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, Jason Momoa, or Ray Fisher. I'm adding Ray Fisher. They actually didn't mention Ray Fisher because Ray Fisher's been having an issue with Warner Brothers for a while. But none of them will be reprising their roles in the DCU that they played in the DCEU. We already, of course, know this with Henry Cavill Superman, as that character has already been cast. There's up in the air talk about Gal Gadot, whether she's playing Wonder Woman or not. We'll have to wait on that one because that one's gone back and forth several times with us knowing that with articles coming out saying Wonder Woman 3 was actually happening to now James Gunn saying that's not happening. So who knows what's happening there. Ben Affleck is definitely done. Ezra don't think is done, but we'll have to wait and see. And then of course Jason Momoa. Ezra's like a musician now. That's, what I'm seeing is he's out there touring music wise. We'll see what happens with Ezra and everything. As again, just listen to past episodes, I've talked about how I feel about Ezra and the nonsense the internet made up about him, or them, excuse me. And then Jason Momoa, of course, who is you had Aquaman 2 coming out in December of this year, which is it's had own drama, that's going on over there. So I don't know if you've seen it, and I haven't really talked about it on the show yet because it kind of just came out. But apparently Amber Heard felt uncomfortable on the set, and she thought Jason Momoa was drunk all the time, and that he showed up as dressed up as Johnny Depp. Which, if you've seen Johnny Depp and you've seen Jason Momoa, they kind of dress alike. It happens. They're both rock star guys. They're gonna have kind of the same vibe and look every now and then. Of course, Jason Momoa much taller and muscular, but she thought he was doing that on purpose and was unsafe on the set and blah 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 blah, which kind of just leads me to believe that a lot of her scenes got cut and she's just whining and complaining like she always seems to do, which makes me a little bit happier because it lets me know if she's whining and complaining about something, and that means yeah, her scenes probably were cut from the movie for the most part. She's barely in the trailer, so we're gonna have to see how that goes. But I think feel a little more comfortable seeing that movie now. But yeah, there's drama going on around that movie, and once that movie comes out, that is it. The DCEU is done. It's gone. Anything connecting to it is over with, and then we move into this new realm, which is fine. I mean, if we recast all these characters, that's fine. Again, we already know Superman's recast. It's just we have to see where it goes with all of them and see how they want to go this route or that route. We know we're going to get another Batman for sure because Batman Brave and the Bold is on the way. We should get another Wonder Woman with the Wonder Woman show they're doing, which kind of focuses more on the mascara than it does Wonder Woman. But of course, Wonder Woman's a part of it, so we'll probably see Wonder Woman at some point there. The Flash, we'll see what happens. I honestly don't know. That's the one that's, a really big question as well. And Aquaman, yeah. I mean, Jason Momoa doesn't look like the comic book Aquaman, right? So if they wanted to go back to Aquaman's other look, they could if they wanted to. It gives them the opening. But yeah, I think it's fine starting fresh. Now, we do still have some people playing characters that they've played before, but it's not connected to the past. So Viola Davis is still playing Amanda Waller, but those other things don't exist in the DCU canon wise. I never get his name right. Xylo, who plays Blue Beetle. That movie is not canon to the DCU that is coming, but he will still be playing that character. And then John Cena as Peacemaker, and I think pretty much all the characters from Peacemaker will be back. They haven't announced it, but I would assume that'll be back. I know Vigilante's back as well, which is great because he was awesome as Vigilante. But again, Peacemaker season 1 isn't canon to DCU, which of course it wouldn't be because Ezra's Flash and Jason's Aquaman are in it, and if we're recasting those characters, then it wouldn't make sense for it to be canon. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, but we know that everything is starting new over there either way. So to make it easier for you going into it, if you're one of those people that's confused by it, when Aquaman 2 comes out, that's it. DCEU is done. Everything after that is now new DC universe called the DCU. Starts with Creature Commandos. That is a show, animated show. And then the first official film is Superman Legacy. And then, of course, they have other stuff called the DC Elseworlds, which will be your Batman, the Batman sequel, your Joker 2 movie. Don't know. I don't know. Is there anything else announced over there for that? But that's where you're going to find those things. So it's not as complicated as it seems. But yeah, that article came out, and now it seems like those characters will all be recast, and Jason Momoa would be staying with DC but playing Lobo instead, which he looks like Lobo. He can pull it off. That'd be cool as a fan favorite character, kind of an anti-hero, badass character. So I mean, I'd be fine with it. Jason would do a good. Jason's a fantastic actor. So if you don't believe me, like, the dude is Charisma City in freaking that Fast and Furious movie. Only thing worth seeing in that Fast and Furious movie that came out recently. So there you go. All right, other news to talk about. This one kind of ties in with DC and horror. Fantastic, amazing, legendary actor Michael Caine has revealed that he is retiring from acting, saying, "quote You don't have leading men at 90. You're going to have young, handsome boys and girls, so I thought I might as well leave with all this." End quote. He's 90 years old. Big bucket of win on him in his fantastic career, and he deserves to enjoy a retirement. A lot of us probably became close to Michael Caine with the Dark Knight trilogy, but of course he has a long list and career, and while people are doing their horror Halloween stuff, he does have some horror films that maybe you can check out. I'm gonna look into those as well, but of course you might be watching the Jaws movies. He is in Jaws: The Revenge. Other horror stuff he's done Jekyll and Hyde. He's done Dress to Kill. Oh my God, what else has he been in? The Hand, right? And he's done a couple of horror films, but he's big, long, legendary career, and we're celebrating because, again, he is a fantastic performer. Gave us a lot, and at 90 years old is deciding to retire. And he deserves it. So enjoy your retirement, Michael Caine, if this ever comes across by any means. Let's see. Netflix says they are planning to open a new line of retail shops called Netflix House, where fans can immerse themselves in the worlds of Stranger Things, Squid Game, Bridgerton, and many more of their movies and TV shows. Netflix will open the first 2 Netflix House locations in the U.S. in 2025, and then will expand stores globally thereafter. Each store will have rotating installations, including ticketed shows and restaurants with food ranging from fast casual to high-end dining, desserts, and spirits inspired by unscripted shows like cooking shows and popular series. More details about Netflix House and the locations of the stores will be announced at a later date. Interesting idea, interesting concept. I might as well. I mean, they're making plenty of money with like how much they continue to change the price on their Netflix, and now they're limiting how many people can watch Netflix. But hey, no email sharing or no account sharing or whatever. More power to them doing these restaurant things. If there's one close to me, I would check it out just for the aspect of checking out. I do like Stranger Things. That'd be cool to see if they do something Wednesday. That would be cool to see. But who knows? Who knows what that'll be or I mean, they're gonna have two stores. I'm sure one is in California, the other one will be New York, right? And then, from there we'll have to see where they end up building after that. But more power to them, man. Interesting idea, I guess. All right, and last thing to talk about: if you are a physical media collector, there is news that you might not be too excited about, and that is that Best Buy has officially announced that DVDs and Blu-ray discs, both in-store and online, will be available in early 2024. Best Buy made the decision to end DVD sales 9 months ago. According to one source, Best Buy confirmed that it's ending sales of DVDs, quote, to state the obvious, the way we watch movies and TV shows is much different today than it was decades ago, a Best Buy spokesman told Variety. Quote, making this change gives us more space and opportunity to bring customers new and innovative tech for them to explore, discover, and enjoy. End quote. Okay. I mean, I have not been to Best Buy in quite some time. Best Buy. Honestly, when they did something like this before is when I stopped going to Best Buy. Best Buy used to sell CDs, and I was a CD guy for a long time. And when they stopped selling CDs, I stopped going to Best Buy. So it's not a physical media like that. Honestly, I wasn't at Best Buy recently because I had to buy a charger and they had one for like $3, right? A charger cable for my car. I was like, I need to get a quick cable. There's a Best Buy there. I didn't want to really deal with, Walmart or anything. I'm like, Best Buy is going to be easier to get in and out of. So that was the last time I went to Best Buy. I got that. I did walk around and look at the DVD section because I'm a movie guy, right? That's what you do. I mean, it's not like it's taking up that much room in their store, to be honest with you. It's mostly cell phones and laptops and TVs and washing machines, right? And refrigerators and stuff like that. Basically a freaking mall store, right? One of those mall stores you find like a Sears or a JCPenney or something like that. But yeah, I mean, physical media, there are people who still collect those things. I have, thought about, starting to collect again. Uh, I will buy the Flash, of course. Still haven't got that. I need to get the Flash. But I will buy that, of course, on physical media because that movie is important to me. And yeah, I don't know where that leads things going in the future. You still have Walmart who sells them. Amazon still has them. Target still has them. Um, Trying to think of any other stores, but those are the ones that are coming to right, up front. So you still have your options to go get those. I know a lot of people do streaming now. Streaming seems easier for a lot of people, but at the same time, man, there are some movies that are going to be hard to find that some streaming services just won't have, right? There's like Kevin Smith movies you can't find on any streaming service. So, it's all depends on what you're into and what you're interested in and all that. But yeah, I mean Best Buy, like I don't know how many people were going to Best Buy to buy these things. Like it's Best Buy. It's always seemed like more of a tech place. I mean, again, it was cool. I loved walking through that store and looking at all the DVDs. Again, most recently when I was there, did that anyways. Didn't even plan on buying them or anything, but foot traffic, and you're in there, and you got somebody like myself who's a movie guy, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go look in the movie section," which could, excuse me, turn into being a purchase, right? So I don't think it's a good move by any means, but some people think they gotta do what they gotta do, and that is their choice. So big bucket of loss there, as far as I'm concerned. Anytime you're taking away something from people to be able to buy, that is kind of a dumb decision. But they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and they're gonna lose business to Walmart, Target, and Amazon even more because you can still get physical copies of movies there, and that's what you should do. So, you can still buy CDs at Walmart, but like Walmart's weird. They edit CDs. They're not allowed to have cuss words and all that stuff, or they can't be violent music. But they have movies on the next section that has all that things. I don't know. Walmart's weird, but I don't think Target may still sell CDs, not as much as they used to, but they have like a little section. But I mean, again, look at what records have become a thing again. right? People are buying records again after we've had CDs and streaming services for music and all that stuff. People are buying records, right? Because of that aspect. So people are obviously going to want to buy DVDs and collect them, or some people just enjoy DVDs more, It's just the way it works. So, again, I think it's a dumb move by Best Buy, but it's what they got to do. They feel like they got to do, so do what you got to do. That's going to do it for this show, man. Appreciate you joining in. Hope you liked it. Again, totally killer. I think you should totally see. I did it. I said that I'm an idiot. They got some horror news with the Halloween franchise. Let me know what you think about Miramax getting the TV rights and them wanting to do a cinematic universe there. Exorcist talk. Last Voyage of the Demeter, Lisa Frankenstein, Warner Brothers and DC. What's going on there? Honestly, there's a rumor that Universal may buy Warner Brothers, which I hope to God happens, because I think Universal would do better with that. Plus, if Universal buys Warner Brothers for us Halloween Horror Nights fans, that opens a world of amazing possibilities, including Nightmare on Elm Street and the Conjuring universe. Yes, and it. So yes, please, Universal, buy Warner Brothers and save us all from the nightmare that they've done with DC, and help us get these freaking horror properties over here. Look, they can't handle it, right? They got the thing over there with Six Flags, yeah, which I didn't even think about that. If Universal buys Warner Brothers and they get the DC rights and all that stuff, what's going to happen with Six Flags DC rights? Contract runs up. They bring it to the Universal theme parks. They can give Marvel back to Disney. Oh my God. Universal, for the love of God, please buy Warner Brothers. We need this to happen so badly. Oh my God, I need this to happen so badly. Just think about that. That freaking Universal logo coming through and then a DC logo coming in after it. Oh my God, I need it to happen. I need it to happen so bad. Okay, anyways, that does it for the show. Hope you enjoyed it, man. I had a good time, as always, doing the show. I love doing the show, and I hope you love listening to it. I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to me ramble on around the movie realms, news, talks, and all that stuff. Anything else to know? Let's have fun. Again, please hit that like, subscribe, share. Please follow us on, join our Patreon, man. We have fun stuff going on over there. When I say we, I mean the other people. I'm not doing anything over there because I suck. But maybe soon, hopefully. But don't hold your breath on that. But we do have fun stuff going on there, including watch-alongs, which we have a lot of fun doing, and it'd be awesome if you join in on us with that, and we can talk all kinds of fun stuff while watching a movie. But again, that does it for this episode. I appreciate you all taking the time. I am your host, Review It Rob, and I like to end the show with this quote every single time because it's extremely important to me, and I hope it hit you the way it hit me the first time I heard it. But appreciate you all, and again, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if only one remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.